Imagine a quiet Houston suburb, where every house tells a story of hard work and dreams fulfilled. In one of these homes lived Marcus Johnson and Ebony Davis, a couple who seemed to have everything: a strong bond, shared laughter, and a future that promised stability and happiness. But beneath the picture-perfect exterior lay a secret so dark that it would unravel their world in the most violent of ways. What followed was a crime that stunned even the most seasoned investigators and sparked debates that reverberated across the nation. Houston, Texas, a sprawling metropolis known for its vibrant culture, economic opportunities, and diverse communities. Nestled within its expansive landscape is a quiet suburb, characterized by well-manicured lawns, tree-lined streets, and homes that exude warmth and stability. It's the kind of place where neighbors know each other by name, where children play safely in the streets, and where the American dream feels tangible and attainable. In this serene environment lived Marcus Johnson and Ebony Davis. Their home, a charming two-story house with a white picket fence, was the epitome of suburban bliss. To the outside world, they were the embodiment of success and happiness. Friends admired their relationship, colleagues respected their professionalism, and the community valued their contributions. However, as with many stories, the truth often lies beneath the surface, hidden from casual observation. Marcus Johnson, a 32-year-old construction worker, was a man who embodied traditional values. Raised in a strict, conservative home, Marcus was deeply connected to his family and community, known for being the type of person who would help others before thinking of himself. His friends admired his loyalty and commitment, often joking that Marcus was the backbone of their group, someone they could rely on without question. Marcus's upbringing in a blue-collar household instilled in him a profound sense of responsibility and work ethic. His father, a stern but loving man, had always emphasized the importance of integrity and honesty. "A man is only as good as his word," his father would say, a mantra that Marcus carried with him into adulthood. Summers were spent working alongside his father, fixing fences and building sheds, experiences that shaped his practical skills and reinforced the value of hard work. His mother, a woman of quiet strength, had a calming presence that balanced his father's rigidity. She instilled in Marcus a deep respect for others and a belief that everyone deserved kindness and support. These lessons were evident in the way Marcus lived his life. He was the first to offer a helping hand and the last to expect anything in return. His sense of identity was rooted in these values, and his sense of masculinity was tied to the idea of being a protector, a provider, and someone who could be depended upon. Marcus took pride in his work, crafting homes with his hands, creating something tangible out of raw materials. His craftsmanship was renowned in the community, earning him a reputation for quality and reliability. Beyond his professional life, Marcus was actively involved in local community projects. He spent his weekends helping neighbors with small construction projects, never asking for anything in return. Whether it was building a new fence for an elderly neighbor or assisting in the renovation of a community center, Marcus was always ready to contribute. His dedication to his work and community earned him the admiration of his peers and the trust of those around him. He was seen as a pillar of the community, someone who embodied the very essence of hard work and integrity. This image, however, was about to be shattered in the most unexpected and tragic way. Ebony Davis, a 28-year-old hairstylist whose beauty and confidence lit up every room she entered. With a warm, infectious smile and eyes that seemed to hold secrets and stories, Ebony was the kind of woman people gravitated toward. She had built a name for herself in the local beauty scene, admired for her skill and magnetic personality. Ebony's journey to becoming the confident woman she was had been anything but easy. Growing up in a conservative household, Ebony had always known she was different. The realization that she was transgender came with a host of challenges: family rejection, societal judgment, and the constant fear of violence. She had faced bullying in school, had been ostracized by friends, and had to fight for every bit of acceptance she had earned. Despite the hardships, Ebony found solace in her passion for beauty. She had a talent for hairstyling, and through her work, she found a way to express herself, to create something beautiful in a world that often felt harsh and unaccepting. Her salon became a safe space, not just for herself, but for her clients, many of whom were also part of marginalized communities. Ebony had built a life for herself that she was proud of, but the fear of rejection still loomed large, especially when it came to Marcus. Ebony's salon was more than just a place for haircuts and styling. It was a sanctuary where individuals could feel seen, heard, and beautiful. Her clients adored her, not just for her talent, but for the way she made them feel, empowered and confident. She expanded her services, hired new stylists, and even started hosting beauty workshops, sharing her knowledge and passion with others. Her involvement in community events further solidified her reputation as a compassionate and dedicated individual. Whether it was volunteering her time to help organize charity drives or participating in local festivals, Ebony was always present, offering her support and expertise. Her laughter was infectious, filling any room with warmth and light, and her ability to connect with people made her a beloved figure in the community. The chemistry between Marcus and Ebony was instant. Their connection seemed almost too good to be true. Within a year, they were engaged, and Marcus was showcasing Ebony to friends and family, as if she were the most valuable part of his life. Their wedding was the culmination of what appeared to be a fairy tale romance, held at the historic Houston Baptist Church, attended by over 200 guests who watched in awe as Marcus beamed with pride. The ceremony was filled with heartfelt vows, joyous laughter, and tears of happiness. The reception was a lively celebration, with friends and family dancing late into the night, toasting to the couple's future. Marcus couldn't help but feel that his life was finally complete, that all the pieces had come together perfectly. Yet, even on this day of celebration, Marcus noticed subtle signs that unsettled him. Moments when Ebony's eyes drifted to the horizon, as if she were searching for an escape. During their honeymoon in the Caribbean, those moments became more pronounced. Despite the picturesque beaches and romantic dinners, Marcus sensed an emotional distance he could not breach. Whenever he asked if something was wrong, Ebony would smile, reassuring him with a phrase that began to sound hollow. "Don't worry about me, baby." It was as though she was hiding behind her smile, and no matter how much Marcus tried, he couldn't break through the barrier that seemed to be growing between them. As weeks turned into months, the couple settled into their home in a quiet neighborhood outside Houston. Marcus poured his energy into home projects and the routine of married life, while Ebony's beauty business flourished. She expanded her services, hired new stylists, and even started hosting beauty workshops. But as her clientele grew, so did her need for privacy. She began to take calls in hushed tones and would leave home for hours with vague explanations about meeting new clients or attending industry events. The intimacy that had once been so natural between them started to fade, replaced by a palpable tension that neither could acknowledge. Marcus tried to ignore the growing distance, convincing himself that this was just a phase, that things would get better if he worked harder, loved more deeply. He threw himself into home improvement projects, hoping that by creating a more comfortable and beautiful space, he could bridge the emotional gap between them. He even planned surprise dates, cooked elaborate dinners, and showered Ebony with gifts, but nothing seemed to bring back the closeness they once shared. Ebony, on the other hand, found herself increasingly torn between the life she had built with Marcus and the fear that her past would one day come crashing into her present. She had never imagined that keeping her past a secret would be easy, but she had hoped that love would somehow make it simpler. Each day, the weight of what she hadn't told Marcus grew heavier, and she found solace in her work, where she could be herself without the constant fear of judgment. Her clients knew her as a talented, confident woman, and in her salon, she could forget the secret that haunted her. She wanted to tell Marcus, to share her truth with the man she loved, but every time she tried, fear would grip her. Fear of losing everything they had built together, fear of seeing the love in his eyes turn to disgust. She would practice the words in her mind, but they would always catch in her throat, leaving her silent. The breaking point came one evening when Marcus, unable to silence his doubts, decided to search through Ebony's things while she was out. He told himself he was acting out of love, that any discovery would bring them closer, clearing the air of the cloud that had descended on their home. He rummaged through drawers and closets, feeling a mix of guilt and desperation. What he found shattered him. A small, dusty box hidden beneath old clothes, containing documents he couldn't comprehend at first. A birth certificate with the name Elijah Davis and medical records that revealed Ebony's transition from male to female. The discovery left Marcus paralyzed, disbelief mingling with a rage that felt foreign and uncontrollable. His mind raced through their relationship, every moment now tinged with a sense of betrayal. He remembered the subtle hesitations, the guarded answers, the times when Ebony seemed to be holding back a part of herself. It all made sense now, but in a way that twisted his love into something dark and unbearable. He felt as though the foundation of his life had been ripped away, leaving him in freefall. The woman he had loved, the future he had envisioned, now felt like a cruel illusion. He felt a deep sense of humiliation, as though he had been deceived in the most intimate way possible. When Ebony returned that night, she found Marcus waiting, the incriminating papers spread across the bed like evidence at a trial. The room felt colder, the silence sharper as their eyes met. Marcus, fists clenched and voice shaking, whispered, "You lied to me. Who are you, really?" Ebony's face fell, her eyes widening with a mixture of fear and sorrow. She had always known this moment might come, but she had hoped for more time. Time to tell Marcus in a way that would help him understand. "I was going to tell you, Marcus, I swear. I just didn't know how," she said, stepping forward with tears streaming down her face. But Marcus was deaf to her pleas, his mind spiraling through memories that now felt like lies. The love, the vows, the future, they all felt tainted. The betrayal he felt wasn't just about the secret itself. It was about the trust that had been shattered, the life he thought he knew crumbling before his eyes. He felt as though his entire identity as a husband had been called into question, and the anger that surged within him was as much about his own insecurities as it was about Ebony's secret. He felt emasculated, as though the very core of his masculinity had been challenged. The argument escalated, Marcus pacing like a caged animal, his anger feeding on itself. He stormed into the garage, grabbing a hammer with a determination that crossed the line between grief and madness. Ebony, realizing the danger, backed away, her voice breaking as she tried to reach the man she loved. She spoke of her fears, of her love for him, of the courage it had taken for her to live her truth. She begged Marcus to listen, to see her for who she truly was, beyond the past she had kept hidden. She told him about the sleepless nights, the fear she had carried, the hope that he would understand. But Marcus, blinded by betrayal, saw only red. The first swing was met with a scream. The ones that followed echoed through their home, silencing her voice forever. When the police arrived, they found Marcus sitting on the floor, his hands and clothes soaked in blood, staring blankly at the shattered remnants of his life. The scene was described as one of the most horrific that investigators had ever witnessed. Ebony's body, marred beyond recognition, lay lifeless in a room that had once symbolized love and promises of a future. The officers who responded to the scene were left shaken, the brutality of the crime leaving a mark that would not easily fade. The neighbors, who had once admired the seemingly perfect couple, were left in shock, struggling to reconcile the Marcus they knew with the man who had committed such a heinous act. The entire community was in disbelief, grappling with the sudden and violent end to what had seemed like a storybook romance. The home, once a symbol of Marcus and Ebony's love, was now a crime scene filled with chaos and tragedy. The living room, where they had spent countless evenings together, was in disarray, furniture overturned, personal belongings scattered across the floor. The bedroom, meant to be a sanctuary, was tainted by the violence that had transpired. The hammer, Marcus's weapon of choice in that moment of rage, lay nearby, a stark reminder of the night that would forever change their lives. The news of the murder spread quickly through the tight-knit community. Shock and disbelief gave way to fear and confusion as neighbors tried to make sense of what had happened. Marcus, once a beloved figure, was now a convicted murderer, and Ebony, a symbol of resilience and beauty, was a tragic victim of violence and hatred. The community grappled with conflicting emotions. sympathy for Marcus's apparent emotional turmoil, and deep sorrow for Ebony's untimely death. The trial became a media sensation, dividing public opinion. Marcus's defense hinged on emotional distress, arguing that the shock of discovering such a personal secret had pushed him beyond reason. His lawyers painted a picture of a man who had been driven to the brink by the weight of societal expectations, by a truth that had blindsided him in the most intimate of ways. They argued that Marcus had been conditioned by his upbringing to see gender and identity in rigid terms, and that the revelation of Ebony's past had shattered his understanding of his own masculinity and role as a husband. The defense team delved into Marcus's upbringing, highlighting the strict values instilled in him by his father and the pressure he felt to conform to traditional masculine roles. They presented evidence of his lifelong commitment to integrity and honesty, suggesting that the discovery of Ebony's true identity was a traumatic shock that led to a temporary loss of control. Expert witnesses testified about the psychological impact of sudden, life-altering revelations and how they can push individuals to extreme actions. They also emphasized the societal pressures Marcus faced, arguing that the stigma surrounding transgender individuals contributed to his inability to process Ebony's truth in a healthy manner. By portraying Marcus as a victim of societal expectations and personal turmoil, the defense aimed to elicit empathy from the jury, suggesting that his actions, though tragic, were the result of overwhelming emotional distress rather than premeditated violence. The prosecution, on the other hand, painted Marcus as a cold-blooded killer whose inability to process his own insecurities led to murder. They highlighted Marcus's choice to resort to violence as evidence of his inherent instability and capacity for cruelty. Witnesses testified about Marcus's strong physical presence and the fact that he had previously handled tools with precision, which contradicted the notion that he acted out of temporary emotional distress. They argued that there were countless moments where Marcus could have chosen to walk away, seek help, or communicate his feelings rather than destroying the life they had built together. The prosecution emphasized the premeditated nature of the act, pointing to the deliberate search through Ebony's belongings and the use of a hammer as indicators of planning and intent. Friends and family of both Marcus and Ebony took the stand, some defending Marcus's character as a man who had been driven to the edge, while others highlighted Ebony's bravery in trying to live her truth in a world that was not ready to accept her. Marcus's mother spoke tearfully of her son's upbringing, of the values she had instilled in him, and of her belief that he had acted out of a sense of betrayal that overwhelmed his ability to reason. She described a loving son, a man who had always been there for his family, who had worked hard and lived honestly. Ebony's friends spoke of her kindness, her strength, and the love she had for Marcus, a love that had ultimately led to her tragic end. They described the fear she had carried, the constant worry about how her past would be received, and the hope that Marcus would see her for who she truly was, not defined by her past, but by the person she had become. They spoke of her courage, of the strength it took to live authentically in a world that often demanded conformity. The verdict was guilty of first-degree murder, a decision that left Marcus a broken figure, sentenced to life in a prison cell. The court's decision was met with mixed reactions. Some felt that justice had been served, while others believed that Marcus's actions were a tragic result of emotional turmoil and societal pressures. The case highlighted the complexities surrounding issues of identity, acceptance, and the devastating consequences of hidden truths. Marcus, now a shadow of the man he once was, spent his days in prison replaying the moments that had led to that fateful night, haunted by the realization that his love had turned into something monstrous. He attended mandatory counseling sessions, but the weight of what he had done was inescapable. He wrote letters to Ebony's family, letters that went unanswered, in which he tried to explain his actions, to express his remorse. But no words could undo what he had done, and he knew that his life would forever be defined by that moment of rage. He thought of the future they had planned, the family they had talked about, and he realized that his actions had destroyed not only Ebony's life but his own as well. He became a cautionary tale, a symbol of what could happen when love turned to hatred, when fear overwhelmed reason. In the wake of the trial, Ebony's family set up a foundation in her name, dedicated to supporting transgender individuals and promoting awareness about the challenges they face. They wanted her death to mean something, to spark change in a society that had failed her. The foundation provided resources for transgender individuals, including counseling, support groups, and advocacy initiatives aimed at creating a more accepting society. Ebony's mother, in a tearful interview, spoke of her daughter's courage, her desire to live authentically, and her hope that no one else would have to suffer the way Ebony had. She spoke of the dreams Ebony had had, the life she had wanted to build, and the love she had believed in. Ebony's death sparked nationwide conversations about trust, identity, and the tragic consequences of hidden truths. The case, sensationalized in documentaries and dissected online, became more than just a story of murder. It was a grim reflection on how societal expectations, fear, and betrayal can converge in deadly ways. The debates were fierce. Was Marcus a victim of deception, or was he a man who chose violence over compassion? Was Ebony wrong for not disclosing her past sooner, or was she simply trying to protect herself in a world that often responded with hate? The story forced people to confront their own biases, their own understanding of identity and love, and the boundaries of acceptance. It raised critical questions about how society treats individuals who do not conform to traditional norms and the lengths to which someone might go to protect their truth. The case highlighted the importance of empathy and understanding in relationships, especially when dealing with deeply personal and sensitive issues. Legal experts weighed in on the case, discussing the implications of emotional distress as a defense for violent crimes. Psychologists analyzed Marcus's behavior, exploring the impact of sudden revelations on an individual's mental state and decision-making processes. The case became a reference point in discussions about the intersection of mental health, societal pressure, and criminal responsibility. This tragic tale serves as a reminder of the devastating impact of silence and unspoken truths. It forces us to confront uncomfortable questions about love, identity, and the boundaries of acceptance. How do we navigate the complexities of human relationships when secrets are involved? How do we ensure that fear and misunderstanding do not lead to tragedy? One of the primary lessons from Marcus and Ebony's story is the importance of open communication in relationships. Secrets, especially those that pertain to one's identity, can create barriers that erode trust and intimacy. In the case of Marcus and Ebony, the inability to communicate openly about Ebony's true identity led to a breakdown in their relationship, culminating in a tragic act of violence. The case underscores the need for greater acceptance and understanding of transgender individuals. Ebony's fear of rejection and violence highlights the dangers that marginalized communities face when their identities are not fully accepted by society. Promoting inclusivity and providing support systems for individuals navigating their identities can prevent similar tragedies in the future. The story also emphasizes the importance of mental health support in addressing emotional distress and personal turmoil. Marcus's actions, while inexcusable, were influenced by his inability to cope with the sudden revelation and the pressure to conform to societal norms. Providing accessible mental health resources and fostering environments where individuals can seek help without judgment is crucial in preventing such outcomes. In honor of Ebony's memory, her family established a foundation dedicated to supporting transgender individuals. The Ebony Davis Foundation aims to provide resources, advocacy, and education to promote understanding and acceptance of transgender people. The foundation offers counseling services, support groups, and mentorship programs, creating a network of support for those who might be facing similar struggles. The foundation launched several initiatives aimed at creating safe spaces for transgender individuals. One of their key programs is a mentorship initiative that pairs transgender youth with mentors who can provide guidance and support. They also host workshops and seminars to educate the community about transgender issues, aiming to reduce stigma and promote empathy. The foundation quickly became a vital resource in the community, helping to bridge gaps in understanding and acceptance. Through their efforts, the community began to shift towards a more inclusive and supportive environment. The foundation's work serves as a lasting legacy of Ebony's strength and resilience, turning her tragic end into a catalyst for positive change. In prison, Marcus struggled with the weight of his actions. He attended mandatory counseling sessions, seeking to understand the depths of his emotional turmoil and the factors that led him to commit murder. Despite his efforts, the path to redemption was fraught with challenges. Through therapy, Marcus began to confront the deep-seated beliefs and societal pressures that had influenced his actions. He explored the rigid definitions of masculinity he had been raised with and how they had limited his ability to process his emotions healthily. His counseling sessions focused on helping him develop healthier coping mechanisms and fostering a sense of empathy and understanding towards others. Marcus wrote letters to Ebony's family, attempting to explain his actions and express his remorse. These letters were a desperate attempt to find closure and seek forgiveness. However, they went unanswered, leaving Marcus to grapple with the consequences of his actions in isolation. The absence of a response only deepened his sense of loss and regret, highlighting the irreversible damage caused by that single violent act. Marcus became a cautionary tale, a symbol of what can happen when love turns to hatred and fear overwhelms reason. His story serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of trust and the destructive power of unaddressed emotional turmoil. In prison, Marcus was forced to confront the man he had become and the choices that had led him down a path of darkness. The tragic story of Marcus and Ebony is more than just a tale of murder and betrayal. It is a reflection of the broader societal issues that contribute to such outcomes. It highlights the importance of fostering environments where individuals feel safe to express their true selves without fear of rejection or violence. Society often imposes rigid norms and expectations, particularly regarding gender and identity. These norms can create immense pressure for individuals who do not conform, leading to feelings of isolation, fear, and the need to hide their true selves. Challenging these societal norms and promoting a culture of acceptance and understanding is crucial in preventing similar tragedies. Education and awareness play pivotal roles in changing perceptions and reducing stigma. By educating the public about transgender issues and the importance of acceptance, society can create a more inclusive and supportive environment. Awareness campaigns, educational programs, and community outreach efforts are essential in fostering empathy and understanding. Providing robust support systems and resources for individuals struggling with their identities is vital. Counseling services, support groups, and mentorship programs can offer the necessary assistance for individuals to navigate their personal challenges. These resources not only help prevent emotional distress but also empower individuals to live authentically and confidently. The story of Marcus Johnson and Ebony Davis is a poignant reminder of the complexities of human relationships and the devastating consequences that can arise from hidden truths and societal pressures. It challenges us to reflect on our own beliefs, biases, and the ways in which we support or fail to support those who may be struggling with their identities. In reflecting on this tragic case, it becomes clear that the interplay between personal identity, societal expectations, and emotional health can lead to unforeseen and catastrophic outcomes. The story compels us to consider how we can create a more compassionate and understanding society, where individuals feel safe to be their authentic selves without fear of judgment or violence. As we conclude this examination of Marcus and Ebony's story, let us take away the lessons of empathy, acceptance, and the importance of open communication. Let us strive to build a community where secrets do not have to be kept in fear, where love can thrive on honesty and understanding, and where every individual is valued for who they truly are. What do you think should have happened in a situation like this? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more in-depth analyses of cases that reveal the complexity of human nature.